Welcome back, learners. I hope you did what you're supposed to do. Try and understand that question. And I can remember what we said. You still remember our straight line, 180 degrees. And this is given as a 90 degrees, which is perpendicular. If the other side is 90, to get everything to give 180, the other side is also 190. 180. Right. Now, like I said earlier on, this is what we're doing earlier on. Right? DBA in this case is the whole angle. And it's made out of y, this y plus 10 degrees plus 3y minus 20 degrees plus 90 degrees, which is all equals to 180 degrees. Now we rope in our mathematical skills now. Y and 3y's, all of them is for y. 10 degrees minus 20 degrees is your minus 10 degrees plus your 90 degrees, which is equals to 80. Right, remember we are solving for y now. In other words, we are roping in the skills of solving the equations. Right, 4y minus 10 plus 90 degrees is equals to 80 degrees, equals to 180 degrees. You remember now we want to, as far as equations are concerned, we want to y to be on its own, the variables on the other side, and your constant on the right. Therefore, when you transpose, your 80 degrees is going to be negative. So 4y equals to 180 degrees minus 80 degrees, which is 4y equals to 100 degrees. And what do you multiply your y with to get 100? It's 25. Therefore, y is 25 degrees, which has answered the questions. Determine the size of y given reasons for your answer. The reasons there we've given 180 degrees, which is your straight line. Therefore, you find your y value. Now let's look at the second question. Calculate the size of GAC. GAC. Right. You still remember our corresponding, let's check. Let's check when you answer such questions. You've got your parallel lines. Right? There's your parallel lines. So in as far as your parallel lines are concerned, what do we have here? GAC, what is the relationship? GAC. In other words, you look for GAC. Where do we find GAC? GAC is found as a co-interior angle of parallel lines. Co-interior angles of parallel lines. We'll come later to this ones. Co-interior angles of parallel lines. Right? Co-interior angles of parallel lines. Co-interior between parallel lines and on the same side of transverse. Between parallel lines on the same side of transverse. Now we've just calculated the value of y. Therefore, we'll say now, okay, what relationship are we getting here? How is GAC? What is a relationship? What do we get? Remember, mathematics as a relationship subject. GAC, angle GAC plus angle EBA. EBA EBA. EBA, that co-interior angle, EBA equals to 180, which is a statement. Y co-interior angles of parallel lines. Co-interior angles of parallel lines. We're looking for GAC. But now EBA is 3y minus 20. Is equals to 3y minus 20 degrees. But we've just calculated our y as 25. In other words, where there is y, you put 25, and then you apply your max case. How 325s 75 minus 20 degrees. Therefore, EAB is 55 degrees. You have answered your question there. But as a way of revising, and let's take a tour. Let's take a tour again. Let's take a tour on okay. Let's take a tour there. Right. I want us to take a tour. Let's look at that picture. Right? There are your parallel lines. There are your parallel lines. That line that cuts across all those parallel lines is called a transverse. A transverse. Remember, this is also a transverse. That is another transverse. This is a parallel line as well. Remember what we said. We spoke about alternating angles. This line is parallel to this one. Here is a transverse. In relation to the transverse, the angle this side is equal to the angle on the other side. Alternating on the other side of the transverse. Alternating on the other side of a transverse. That's very important. The angle, here is a parallel line, alternating angles. Your alternating angles. The angles on this side of a transverse is equal to the angle on the other side of a transverse. Let's just take tours and see what we mean by transverse. So what will also help you, remember earlier on I said coloring is important. In other words, when you look for corresponding angles, when you answer your questions, look at the pattern. What pattern do you have? Corresponding angles, remember I said they are below parallel lines, but on one side of a transverse, or above parallel lines on one side of a parallel. You see this one, here is line parallel to that one. Below the parallel line on the side of a transverse. Below the parallel line on the side of a transverse. So correspondingly, not same position, more or less same situation, so to say. In other words, there's a parallel line above it on this side of a transverse, on the right side of a transverse. Parallel line above it on the right side of a transverse. That's another way of looking at a corresponding angle. So every time when you look at a question, look at the patterns. And I mentioned earlier on, coloring will come in NG. Coloring will tell you, oh, this are equal. Right. We have just done the question of co-interior as well. Co-interior. Co-interior. You can look at this one. It's planned or given as an F. F as a reminder. F as a reminder. I'll note it down here. F as a reminder. They said you must look at the pattern. F as a reminder. We'll come back to that one. Right. The second one, co-interior, it looks a U as a reminder there. A U as a reminder there. A U as a reminder there. A U as a reminder. When you look at it, co-interior, between the parallel lines, they are between the co-interior together, between, they are inside the parallel line, but on the same side of transverse line. Between two parallel lines on the same side of transverse, in this case on the right hand side. Same here with co-interior. Look at that U. Look at the pattern. Where is the U facing? Is it facing that way? Is it facing that way? Or is it facing up? Always look for that pattern. Co-interior again, there's two angles between these parallel lines. Between parallel lines, but on the same side of a transverse. That is referred to as a co-interior, and they add up to 180 degrees. Co-interior angles, when you, the size, or when you add them up, give you 180 degrees. And then again, look for the pattern alternating. Your parallel lines, your transverse, on either side of your transverse. This side and on the other side. This side on the other side. They are alternating, they are changing. It was on the right, now it's on the left. Those are equal angles. Look for that pattern, or what is called a Z pattern. In this case, that Z pattern. Look for the Z pattern. Look for the Z pattern where it's facing. Look at the Z pattern or N pattern. Right? Sometimes people use this approach as a way of remembering. Let me just lift this a bit. Whichever way you'll remember, whichever way will make you happy, they call it a fan here of parallel lines. Fan of parallel lines. Fan of parallel lines. Those corresponding angles just below a parallel line, below a parallel line on the same side of a transverse. You look for that F pattern. 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 It can be facing many directions. Again, the U, when you add this angle and this angle, they should give you 180. The U, look for the U pattern. Look for the U pattern. Whichever way it's facing, whichever shapes it's given, whichever shapes it's given. By that I mean sometimes you can have a U of this type. Right. Same thing, your fan of your N there, alternating parallel lines on different side. This side of a transverse and that side of the transverse. Those angles are equal. And again, look for that pattern. It can face anywhere. It can face anywhere. Always look for those patterns. Have those, make those patterns your friend. Make those patterns your friend. Right? That's what I was talking about. Let's check again there. When you look at the parking lot there, the parallel lines, where do you see your corresponding angles? Where do you see your alternating angles on the other side? Remember, the parallel lines never meet. The transverse joint cuts across all those lines. That is your transverse. Remember that transverse. Alternating angles, just to give us the more picture, that tall. Right? Right here, let's check here. Which ones are alternating? Which ones are, but you must also be careful, they must be of parallel lines. Yes, they can be alternating. This angle 8 here and angle 2. Yes, they are alternating, they are on the other side of a transverse and of these parallel lines. But if the lines are not parallel, if the lines are not parallel, therefore the rules do not apply. Remember, the lines must be parallel. If your lines are parallel, your corresponding are equal. If your lines are parallel, your exterior or co-interior will be equal. The exterior as alternating will be equal. If the lines are parallel, alternating will be equal. If the lines are parallel, the co-interior, they will be supplementary when you add them. Just give you a tour of a transverse. There's a transversal line. There are those are lines, provided they are parallel. Just a tour on a transversal line. When you look at that picture, hopefully it's clear. You see your parallel lines, your streets, your town plans, streets are cutting across each other, where you have intersections and so on and so on. Just to emphasize the point of a transversal line. Same thing here, when you look at Isabella's ice cream and Connie's coffee, co-interior, they are within, they are in between the parallel lines and on the same side of a transverse. The donuts and the burger here within co-interior, the parallel lines, and on the same side of the transverse. Therefore, they are co-interior, they are supplementary. Right? As well, you can look at the corresponding. Here is a line above the parallel line on the right of a transverse. Above a parallel line on the right of a transverse. That's how they are corresponding. Just to give you a picture. There is your Z again. Remember looking at that pattern. Alternating angles, Z shape or N shaped, whichever way you look at it. Parallel line transverse on either side of a transverse. They alternate, they change position. Alternate. Corresponding below a parallel line on the same side of a transverse. Co-interior within the parallel lines on the same side of a transverse. And they are supplementary. When you add them, they'll give you 180 degrees. Just a tour on parallel lines and transverse before we go and do some calculation. Remember earlier I said coloring comes very handy. Your B, they're alternating, same color, they are equal, remember, provided lines are parallel. The green ones, A and A, remember they are equal, provided the lines are parallel. Remember when you add your co-interior, they give you 180. Remember the co-interior, they are within the parallel lines on the same side of a transverse. Within the parallel lines on the same side of a transverse. When you add them, they should give you 180. So this line is parallel to this line. These two angles are within and on the same side of a transverse. Meaning what? When you add them, they should give you 180. Therefore, this one should be 108. Right. You still remember the vertically opposite angles? We will come back to that when we do some more exercises, but it's just to give you transversal. Those are your parallel lines. Those are your transversal corresponding angles A above the parallel line on the left of the transverse. Above the parallel line on the left of the transverse. Above the parallel line on the left of the transverse. Corresponding angles. Above the parallel line on the right. Above parallel line on the right. Above parallel line on the right. Corresponding angles. All right, that's how you remember. Then again, you look for that pattern of F. Look for an F. Where is the F facing? Look for that pattern every time when you look at these things. More pictures, just to clarify this relationship. All right. Co-interior within, there is your U. There is your Z. Purple equals to purple. Black equals to black. Right? Corresponding above on the left. Above on the left. Pink equals to pink. Below on the left. Below on the left. Corresponding. They are equal. Below on the right, on the side of the transverse. Below on the right, on the right side of the transverse. Those are corresponding angles. Alternating interior, that's mainly what you talk about. That one is alternating but exterior, on the outside. They are alternating on the outside. This one's in the inside of the parallel lines. Those ones on the outside of the parallel lines. But mainly we use the one on the inside. There we go again. Straight line. Angle of a straight line, when you add them, they give 180. Angles on a straight line, when you add them, give 180. Angle on a straight line, when you add them 180. Angles on a straight line, when you add them 180. Remember, vertically opposite equal. Vertically opposite, they share the vertex. Vertically opposite equal. Vertically opposite equal. Vertically opposite equal. Corresponding. Below the parallel line on the left. Below the parallel line on the left. Corresponding. Above the parallel line on the left, 50. Above the parallel line on the left of a transverse, 50. Above the parallel line on the right of a transverse. Above the parallel line on the right of the transverse, corresponding. Your F. Your F is facing down. Your F can face anywhere. You just look for the pattern. Your U, look at the shape of your U. Co-interior. They are inside parallel lines, but on the same side of a transverse. When you add them, they give you 180. Just to give you that tool, just to give you that picture, just amplify every different way of looking at it, but always remember, look for a pattern. And of course, of parallel lines. Now let's see whether the tool was useful. Let's see whether the tool was useful. Find the size of angle X and angle Y. Relationships again. Relationships. We must look at the relationships. Right? 120 degrees, what do you relate it to? In maths, whatever you are given, you are going to make use of. Rest assured that in mathematics, whatever you are given, you are going to make use of. I see 120 degrees and 60 degrees. That tells you it's a straight line already. Now, what's the relationship between 120 and Y? What is the relationship between Y and 60? Relationship, remember. Right. Okay, I'm just looking for that question here that we're doing so that I don't have to redraw. I don't have to redraw the question while you're working at it, I want to avoid redrawing. You are. Okay, it's not a problem. Let's look at it. What is a relationship of Y and 120? Remember, we're talking about relationships of angles. So what is a relationship? In other words, establish that relationship. And that relationship, you can see it's there. It's what you see. It's there. You just have to tell us the mathematics. Tell us the mathematics. Mathematically, that's what is important. Now, what is the relationship? 1, Y, and 60 vertically opposite. And 120 plus 60 gives you 180. If that's the case, it tells you this is a straight line. So already, okay, Y equals to 60 degrees. Remember, that's your statement. The reason vertically opposite. That's relationship number 1. Relationship number 2. How is X? Let's look at X. Let's look at the relationship. How is X? How is X relating to who and how? X is above the parallel line on the left-hand side of the transverse. Which other angle is the same? 120 above the parallel line on the right of the transverse. You are corresponding your F, you are petting. Therefore, X is equals to 120. That's a relationship. But what is the reason? Corresponding angles of parallel lines. It's what you see. And you remember in English, what do they say? They say, if you can say something in your own words, that's what is important. But it must be mathematically correct. So you can do it in many ways. In many ways. That's question 1.3. Your transverse, your parallel lines. Right, now let's look at 1.4. Let's analyze F1.4. What do you have? In other words, what does this sign represent? That sign represents 90 degrees. That's what it means, vertical. And then what does this mean? What do we have there? What do we have? We have a straight line. And what do you know about straight line? When you add the questions, they give you 180. 90 degrees plus 4x plus x equals to 180 degrees. Why? Angles on a straight line. It's a straight line. So you must always give a reason. Then you rope in your mathematical skills now. You bring in your mathematical skills now that you were taught. 90 degrees, 4x plus x, or 4 randa plus 1 randa is 5 rand. Sometimes when we forget this thing, that can help. The money can bring you home back quickly. 4 rand plus 1 rand, 5 rand. It's quick. Does not need a calculator, but if there's no money here, sometimes you need a calculator. Right, now we rope in our mathematical skills. We do the transposition, or in grade 8 we'll say, now we want 5x on the left-hand side. Why are you going to use an additive inverse? You want this 90 to be 0. How do you make it 90 to be 0? You add it, you subtract, you remove, you throw away that 90. You know, minus, you're losing. So you are giving. But remember, what you do on the left, it must also happen on the right. What you do, fairness, justice, what happens on the left must also happen on the right. Therefore, 90 minus gives you 0, which is going to be 5x, which is going to be 90 degrees. And then, how many 5s in 9? There's one of them, and 4 is left. And then how many 4s how many 5s in? We said once, né? So 4 is left in 40, in 4 is 8. And when you look at this, when you look at what we did here, whether in grade 8 or grade 9, it's same as, look at it. It's same as when you take that 90, that side it becomes negative. In other words, 90 degrees plus 5x equals to 180. You took this 90 degrees, you take it that side, it becomes negative. That's what happens when they call it transposition. Transpose. Okay? Let's continue once more. Let's do more questions. To see how well did our tour assist us. That tour is important. You know, I'm taking the tour with you now. I'm showing you the ropes. I'm showing you how to get to a particular place. Then there'll come that time now when you have to tour by yourself. That time which is important, you have to do the work by yourself. Right, again here, corresponding, the coloring, you remember I said the coloring. Bring those crayons so that you can see which ones are equal, so that you make the picture clear. Alternating angles of a parallel lines equal. Alternating angles of parallel lines equal. Co-interior, supplementary, they are within the same parallel. The supplementary means equals to 180. Co-interior within the parallel lines on the same side of transverse equals to 180 degrees. Vertically opposite, okay, the colors are not assisting us there, but basically it's about parallel lines mainly. When parallel lines are cut by transversal, that's what happens. Strictly parallel lines. Remember, only when lines are parallel. Sorry. Only when lines are parallel. All right. We'll end up with this one. Let's go to some basic ones before. Okay. Let me just check this ones. Okay, sorry. Yeah, this was the ones that I'm talking about. Yeah, let's go to this. The basic ones before we go to the more combined, the bigger ones. I don't want to say, yeah, you can say complex, or maybe that's got many concepts. Let's look at this one as a basic. Let's look at this one as a basic. All right? Let's look at that one as your basic. Again, when you look at the questions, try and get the patterns, try and get the relationship. Question 1, we've got a 90 degrees. And ABC is a straight line angle. So what does that mean? It means x plus 44 should be equal to 90. That's solving for x. Question 2, what is the relationship? How is y related to 86? Vertically opposite. And then if they are vertically opposite, what happens? They should be equal. Question 5. Look at the relationship. Parallel line, is it above parallel line? Yes. Is it on the same side of a transverse? Yes. Is it above parallel line? Yes. On the same side of a transverse? Yes. Therefore, the pattern, your F is facing down. So all the time, look for the pattern. Look for the relationship. What do you see in front of you? Question 6, F facing down. Is it above the parallel line? Yes. Is this also above the parallel line? Yes. Is it on the same side? Yes. Therefore, they are corresponding. Your F is facing down. Then what can you tell us? The relationship. Here, question 9. What is the relationship? You see your Z there. Are these lines parallel? Yes. Is this a transverse? Yes. On either side of the transverse? Yes. Exchanging, alternating angles. What about them? They are equal. So that should be basically the approach. That should be basically the approach. Okay. Let's see, let's work it out. What is important? Look at the relationships. Look at the relationships. Your straight line. This one is 90. If this is 90, the rest must be 90. Meaning that x plus 44 degrees must be equal to 90. Reason, straight line, straight line. Again, what should x be so that the left-hand side becomes 90? What should be here in x so that the left-hand side must be 90? It looks like 46. Therefore, x is equal to 46 degrees. But the relationship, in other words, the question is in front of you. What do you see in front of you? What can you say? What is the language telling you? But of course, you need to know the language. Remember when you talk about perpendicular. Remember when you talk about vertically opposite. Right, question 2. Once more. Why? What is the relationship here? Y is vertically opposite. They are sharing the common vertex. Therefore, y is equals to 86. Vertically opposite. Right? And let's look at question 3. Y. What is the relationship of y with what? What is the relationship of y with x? Relationship of y with x, look at it. Your straight line. If that is a straight line, and this is 90, this is also 90. So you can write an expression in 2 ways. X plus y should be equals to 90 degrees. Straight line. If that is 90, this must be 90. But why? Why? How is y? What is really? Y is vertically opposite to 32. Therefore, y is equal to 32. Vertically opposite. You can use your colors. You can use your coloring just to remind you that this angle should be equals to this angle. Just to remind yourself. Using your colors, this angle should be equals to this one. Vertically opposite. Now, your y is 32 here. Now, so, okay, y, we solve it, is 32 degrees. Again, for this, the left-hand side to be 90 like the right-hand side, what do we put here? Is it 58? To get 90, or 90 minus 32, what do we get? 90 minus 32, it's your 8 there, 8 minus 3 is 5, which is a 58, like I said. It's a 58. Again, they are looking for n. Where is n? What is the relationship of n with anything there? Oh, we see, oh, there's a parallel lines. Or above the parallel line, our pattern, the F is facing down. The F is facing down. Color those question papers. And then it's above on the same side of a transverse. Therefore, this is equals to that. N is equals to 100. Why? Corresponding angles. Again, look for that pattern. What is M? M, where is M placed? M is above the parallel line on the right side of a transverse. Oh, is there anything like that? Yes. 144 is above parallel line on the right-hand side of a transverse. Corresponding. Look for that pattern. Look for that pattern. Again here, what is y? Oh, y is below a parallel line. On the left, is there anything like that here? Yes, okay. Below the parallel line on the left. Right? Your F there. That is your F. Corresponding. Y is equal to 60 degrees. Again, number 4, let's look at the relationship. What do we have? We are looking for x. X is vertically opposite. Therefore, x is 40 degrees. And the very same x is this side. Is also equal to 40 degrees. Now link that relationship. Link that relationship. Straight line angle. Straight line angles. Straight line angle is x plus y plus 40 degrees equals to 180. X plus y plus 40 gives us 180 degrees. Y straight line. But now we know our x is equals to 40 degrees plus y plus 40 degrees equals to 180. And remember, mathematics is a step-by-step subject. Like an elephant, piece by piece. You cannot say, hey, this elephant is too big, piece by piece. In the process, you might not like the other part, you might be tired and rest here, that's it. But it's step by step, then you get marks for your effort. Right, your mathematical skills again, 40 and 40, 2 40s is 80 plus y equals to 180 degrees. And then you do your transposition. Because we want y, therefore, when you move it to the left-hand side, it changes to minus 80. Therefore, your y is 100 degrees. What is the relationship? When you look at the question, what is the relationship? Number 9, it says A. A, where is A based? Below the parallel line. Okay? In terms of transverse on the left, what other information do we have? 146. But how is 146 related to A? Okay, alternating on either side of transverse. Okay, that's it. Alternating angles, therefore, A equals to 140 degrees. Alternating angles of parallel lines. The relationships. So it's important. The relationship of angles, perpendicular and parallel lines. The angles. Lastly on this one, lastly on that one, you say, okay. Now looking for x and y. And then y and x is not saying much. Y and x just tell you they are corresponding. But both of them we don't know. So life and mathematics or education, you start from what you know to what you don't know. What do you have? What do you know? What I know or what I see here, I see a straight line relationship. That's where you start. A straight line relationship. Okay? Therefore, straight line angle, when you add them, they should give you 180. Therefore, to get 180, what is the value of x? To get 180. 95. 95. In other words, 95 plus 85. Do they give us 180? Yes. 180 degrees. X plus 85 should give you 180. Therefore, x is 95. Then you know what is x. It's 95. Right? Then if x is 95, what is y? What is the relationship? Your pattern, your f. If x is 95, y is 95. The relationship. The relationships. That's what is important. Right, now we'll do The next question, which is a combination, just a way of giving you the approach, more than anything approach. Remember here we said understand the language. How do those things come about? The relationship, how do you approach? Understand the relationships, the approach. But of course, the approach will go with what do you know. You need to know the background. It's important. Right. Let's look at this one. Let's do this one. All right. In the figure below, like I said, it's important to read each and every information. J2 is equal to 5x plus 2 degrees. It's wise to put it down there on the figure. J2, you are told, is a given. You are also told N2. Also told that J2 plus N2 is equals to. So again, like I said, read everything. Read everything. Don't skip it, especially if you try to calculate things, it does not make sense or confuse. It means there's something that you did not get right or you do not understand. You are given here J2 is equals to 5x, x plus 2 degrees. You are given that. You are also given that N2 is 7x. Write it so that it's nearer. We are also told that J2 plus N2 is equals to 180. What is J2? J2 is 5x plus 2 degrees. You are told. That is J2. Plus N2. You are told N2 is 7x plus 10 degrees. You just write what you are told. It's here, it's in front of you, you know. Some of us, we've got the tendency when you do math, you look up there or over where there is the issues here. Supper, lunch is in front of you. The food is in front of you. You cannot eat something up there. So you must look and understand. Write mathematically what you are told. And they're telling you it's equals to 180. Right? That's the situation. Now, the first question is, what can you say about the lines JK? A line, is it JK, right? And LM. What can you say about these lines? And you see, okay, let's, the lines are here. Understand what's in front of you here. You've got those two lines. You also have the transverse. Remember the transverse. Aha. Now, if that's the case, they are telling you J2 and N2 is 180. What does that mean? It tells you the fan. You remember the fan? It says to you, the fan, co-interior, if they are equal to 180, if this co-interior angles, this angle and this one, they are within the parallel, together inside, on the same side of transverse. They are together between the parallel lines on the same side, co-interior. If they are equal to 180, therefore the lines are parallel. Those lines are parallel. Then, of course, your mathematics. 5 rand plus 7 rand is 12 rand. I know we like money. We won't mess up with money. 2 rand plus 10 rand is 12 rand. I know we won't mess up with money. Otherwise, people go to calculator. Quickly calculator. But you say 5 rand and 7 rand is 12 rand. Yes. Yes. Now, we want to solve for x. And we said we transpose. Transpose. In other words, we want 12x alone. When we move this one to the left, it changes the sign. 12x equals to 68. 168. All right? Then our x. Then what is our x? How many 12s in 16? How many 12s in 16? 1. And then you are left with 4. How many 12s in 48? 4. Therefore, your x is 14 degrees. But you have written what you told mathematically. And understand. And look at the relationships. That's all. But you must remember what is going to the, how it looks like. Remember your alternating. Remember alternating, corresponding, co-interior. You have to remember that. You have to remember the way you were shown the way. Now, the last question now, they say, if J3 is 4x plus 2 degrees. If angle J3 is equal to 4x plus 2 degrees. JLM, what is J3? J3 is JLM. Let's see. If J3, if J3 is equals to 4x plus 2 degrees, find the size of JLM. Let's see where is JLM. JLM, this one. We want the size of this one. If your J3 is 4x plus 2 degrees. Right? That's the situation. Now we want to find out JLM. What is the relationship? What is the relationship? JLM, right? Let's write it here. JLM, let's use our colors like I indicated earlier. JLM is actually equals to corresponding, your F. Your F. Remember, you were told to look for a pattern. I'll change that. You're told to look for the patterns. All right? There's your F. So J1 is equal to JLM. Therefore, the relationship again, we cannot find JLM, we must find J1 first. If that's the case, let's see now. Let's understand the relationship. J1 plus J2, which is 5x plus 2 degrees, J1 plus J2 plus J3, which is 4x plus 2 degrees. Everything should be 180 degrees. You see, you are telling us mathematically, you are not concerned about the final answer. That's not our point of concern. But remember, we've just worked out that x is equals to 14. We have just worked out x is equals to 14. Therefore, J1 plus 5, 14 degrees, plus 2 degrees, plus 4, 14 degrees, plus 2 degrees equals to 180. You are still right. That's what is important. We are not worried about the final answer. We are not worried about the final answer. We are worried about writing this mathematical essay, writing, explaining, doing this recipe. Right, J1. 40, 5 of them is 70, plus 2, 4 of them 16, 56, plus 2 degrees. You apply your maths now. You have written the mathematical expressions, and now you apply your math skills now. J1, 70 rand plus 272 rand, 56 rand plus 2 rand, 58 rand. Just for you, this is your calculator. I'm not changing this to money. I'm not a magician. I'm just making sure that you don't always run to your calculator. You know that. J1 plus, it's 0, 30 degrees equals to 180 degrees. To make this 180, this must be 50. So J1 is 50. J1 is 50. If J1 is 50, JLMN is also 50. So therefore, J1 equal to JLM. J1 equal to JLM because they are corresponding. Okay, right. Therefore, if that's the case, therefore, JLM is also equals to 50. But remember, what is important is to do everything step by step by step. You see where we started? We started with the dot, a point. We went to a line. That's how it goes. That's how it goes, unless it becomes that elephant that we have to deal with. So I've shown you the ropes. Same thing. Now is your opportunity to go and practice. To go and practice, look at things, analyze them, interpret them, give them your meaning. I hope you have enjoyed the lessons. Yes, it might be too long a lesson, but play, pause, analyze, play, pause, analyze, and understand. Good luck for the term. See you next time. Bye.